Walton's, and we've got a fairly loaded show today. We've got a bunch of things to talk. Okay, cool. Things to talk about. Can you see this at all from where you are? No. Okay, good. Nope, 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 nope. Because I'm not. Hey guys, this is John, and welcome to our somewhat weekly Meatgistics live streams. We did not have one last week, so I'm going to make this one a little bit different than we normally do, a little special. We are going to do a giveaway, and you can see that over on the right side of your screen if you're watching at waltonsinc.com/live, which is where you should be watching this. We have everything on there, so just one place you can comment, you can watch, you can enter any live streams, or any giveaways we're doing. So I'm not 100% sold on what we're going to give away yet. I've got a couple of different ideas, and we'll get a little bit further in the stream and we can kind of just decide together what we're going to give away. Part of that will also be how many views and how many people are here, depending on if I give away a larger thing or a really good amount of smaller things. We're hoping to get Austin to pop in here during the last 10, 15 minutes or something, because we do have a big news story in the meat processing, just meat general world that we want to touch on. And I want him here because sometimes he's able to offer a view that I don't necessarily see. And just it's the Tyson saying that they're going to start raising prices on food for both retail and wholesale markets. So that is going to be really interesting. I think we've got some tough grocery bills coming up ahead, which honestly we already do have, or at least I've had. But got a couple of things I want to discuss today, some demonstrations, because I was using that little 6-inch Smith's diamond sharpening stone system. Really, really liked it. But we've got a bunch of 8, 10-inch knives here, and that 6-inch steel or stone was really hard to sharpen larger knives on. So I went ahead and gave that away a couple of live streams ago. And I got this, which is the IM 200 Norton multi-oil stone. So it's not the diamond, but it does have a coarse, a medium, and then a fine. So I'm able to get really nice edges how I want them on the knives. Next to that, I obviously have the tried and true trusty True Hone, which has been probably my favorite product at Walton's here for a really long time. For myself, there's something really satisfying about taking a dull knife and getting it just razor sharp again. When you get to that point where you can just slice it through paper, just pull it right through, just there's something about that action and knowing that you took a dull knife and made it that sharp that's just really satisfying. And this is a really easy way to get that. There's a little bit more satisfaction, dare I say, in using the stones instead of using this. I saw J. Michael Kaminsky is in the chat, so when we get to doing those things, I also want to talk about sharpening cleavers. He was nice enough to send me some pictures of, I don't know that nice is the right word. He wanted to make me jealous. It must have been. An unreal knife collection. It is absolutely gorgeous. I hope you don't mind me sharing that. But I've never sharpened a cleaver before. It can be done on the True Hone for sure. You just have to change the bevel so it's a different angle for what you'd want for a cleaver, because obviously you don't want a boning knife edge on a cleaver. You want something thicker, something that's going to handle larger impacts. If you tried to put a boning edge knife on that, you'd bend the blade, get nicks in it, all those problems. So this does have that functionality, but making that adjustment on the fly is a little bit easier on a sharpening stone, at least in my mind. But we will get down to that. Let me just see who's there. It's 1400. Let's roll. Bob, we're not in the military. This is just a regular 3 o'clock. So, Richard Scott says, my knives are dull. Sharpening stone, it's really not that hard a way to go. I've also somewhere around here got my Smith's diamond sharpening steel. It's back there. It looks like John's going to grab it for me. That's also a really nice way to fairly easily sharpen a knife. Thank you. It's got a textured, like a center stone piece with a coating on it that has a diamond coating on that, or covering that has a diamond coating on it. you can take a fairly dull knife and get it back to really nice sharpness with this. I don't, certainly not as good as the True Hone, not as good as the IM 200 either, but I think these cost like 30 or 40 bucks, and they do a really good job. And they're probably, of the three of these, maybe the easiest to learn how to use, and it's certainly the easiest just to keep in a drawer somewhere. Those ones are obviously a little bit harder. Still need to move the chat box. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. So we've got this weekend, we have the Walton Steak Cook-Off event. That is something that a lot of people have been pouring a lot of time into. John and I, who just came up and gave me this, I know it's confusing with more than one John's here now. He and I have been making product like crazy. He's made a couple 100 pounds of jerky for this and another event. Yesterday, we made 50 pounds of smoked sausage. We made the Supreme Pizza and the Hatch Green Chili. And then today, we made another 50 pounds of snack sticks. All of that to say that we have been very much focused on this. Once we get past this, we're going to look at some different things we can do with Rumble, Restream. So we're hoping to incorporate all the chats into one place and give us the ability to fix which goes how the chat appears so it looks more reasonable with the chats at the top instead of the bottom. So I hope you guys are all entering the giveaway, because whatever we do, there's either going to be one really happy person or a couple medium happy people. One of those people will be me if it's the second one, because I'm getting rid of some stuff that I no longer want in here. So
I feel like any gift that you get, any giveaway you get, you should be happy, right?
Sure, yeah. But I mean, if you get a giveaway that's not as good as something you were hoping, like we went to some shooting event and I won all those whiskeys. I was happy with that, but I would have rather had the AR. So it was like, yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, I see your point.
It's one of those ones where you're like, I don't want to complain, but I definitely did ask the guy if he wanted to trade the AR for the whiskeys, and he didn't. So some are better than others for sure. All right, so we sent out an email. What I've done is kind of taken a list of all the people who enter the giveaways on these weekly live streams. And I'm creating a mailing list for that so that we can send out an email to you guys and let you know when we're planning on going live without bothering all the people who just, want the giveaway live streams and the big monthly ones, because these aren't really that, and I don't want them to turn into that. But what we talked about in that email was using seasonings for other than their intended purpose. One of the questions that we used to get all the time on Meatgistics, like multiple times a week, it felt like for a while there, was, can I use X seasoning to make Y product? Can I make a snack stick out of a jerky seasoning? Can I make a summer sausage out of a bratwurst seasoning? The long and short answer to any of that is yes, you always can. It's just going to take some customization, a little bit of trial and error, and just basically some common sense. So the first thing to understand anytime you're transferring across from either jerky to a sausage of any kind, from a sausage of any kind to a jerky, or, and this is the one that comes into play more than anything else, from fresh to cured. So first, let's look at jerky. When you're trying to make a product that's not a jerky out of a jerky seasoning, there's a couple of things we want to take into account. One is that in 90% of the cases, the jerky seasoning is going to have less weight, less volume than any sausage seasoning. A couple reasons for that. One of them is that it's going to, unless you're doing a restructure and that changes it, it's going to be a topical. So it's going to sit on top of and, soak in and penetrate a little bit, mostly sit on top of the meat. So it's going to be the first thing that your tongue comes into contact with, your taste receptors. So it's going to get that hit instantly. But the second, and in all honesty, probably larger reason, is you can expect anywhere from, low end 30% to higher end 70% product loss in weight when you're making jerky. Meaning if you start out with 10 pounds of raw meat, you may end up with anywhere from 7, and that's really good, all the way to 3, which not great unless you're looking for that specifically. So there's less final meat to season. So it requires less seasoning to go into the meat. I hope that makes sense. Tried to explain that as best I could. But here's the problem. There really isn't a way to calculate that. You can't just say, hey, use twice as much seasoning per pound when you're using a jerky seasoning to make a snack stick or a summer sausage. There's a couple reasons for that. One of them is something like the dill pickle. Dill pickle is a jerky or snack stick seasoning. It's formulated in such a way where you can use it at 100% strength for either jerky or snack sticks. No adjustments needed. So some are out there like that, which can be used as a one-to-one. Then you got some other ones, and I just wrote them down here. There's a buffalo wing jerky and a buffalo wing snack stick. The jerky weighs 0.765 of a pound, and the buffalo wing snack stick weighs 1.2 pounds. Both of those are designed to do 25 pounds of meat. So the snack stick is 150% of the jerky seasoning. So it's got 50% more of the product's weight. So why is that? Part of it, because of the two things we talked about earlier. There's going to be less final finished product, and it's designed to be ground into the meat. It's not going to be a topical. So that one's 150%. The jalapeno, which is the one that I cite all the time, the jalapeno jerky is 0.625 of a pound, and the jalapeno snack stick is 1.5 pounds. So that's over twice the amount of seasoning. It's more than double it. Some of that comes down to particle size of the jalapeno flakes, but in general, another good indication that a snack stick seasoning, a sausage seasoning, is usually going to be more seasoning per pound of meat. Last one that's like this is the teriyaki. There's a jerky that's 1.1 pound. There's a snack stick that's 2.3 pounds. So that's twice as well. Now, so you could kind of look at that and say, oh, all right, well, I'll just use twice as much seasoning per pound of meat when I'm taking a jerky seasoning and making a snack stick, but you can't do that. Case in point, the Bloody Mary jerky seasoning, and I went back to the bag and actually verified this on the bag. The jerky seasoning is 2 pounds. The snack stick seasoning is 1.125, so it's actually less. It's 56% less than the jerky seasoning. So that kind of throws that whole just use more narrative out the window. Do we have to throw the entire idea of it out the window because of one specific seasoning? No. I mean, I'm assuming that has a lot to do with the amount of tomato powder needed. My guess is that they're getting some of that pop from a snack stick with some sort of vinegar that they can't make work in the snack stick or in the jerky seasoning. So the best thing that I can tell you to do on that, when you're trying to make something other than a jerky with the jerky seasoning, is small batches initially. You're probably best off marinating and then taking a small portion of that and quickly getting it up to 165 degrees and either dehydrating it or eat it right there. The problem with eating it right there is that you're not going to get a really accurate representation because it's still going to have all of that moisture in the meat that's going to be cooked out. So you really do need to dehydrate it to get it down. The advantage to doing a little small test batch of even your small test batch is that you can still make adjustments to what you haven't yet cooked and dehydrated. Once you've cooked and dehydrated, too late. It's as strong as it's going to be or as it's weak as it's going to be. But, yeah, so that's taking a jerky and making it into a snack stick. Now, what about between sausages, between things that are designed to be made as a sausage? If you've got a bratwurst like the Hatch green chili and you try to make a cured sausage out of it, the Hatch green chili is designed as a brat, not a sausage. So, or I'm sorry, a brat, not a cured sausage. So what's the difference there? I mean, obviously one of them is that we're going to add cure to the cured sausage, and a cured sausage is a snack steak, is a summer sausage, is a cured specialty sausage, smoked sausage. All of those are cured sausages. Sausage is this big, enveloping term that even goes beyond just something ground and stuffed into a casing, because you have loose Italian sausage, you got loose breakfast sausage patties. So it is this really big, broad term. But the biggest difference between them is going to be salt content. The reason for that is that when we're talking about a cured sausage, salt is going to play a functional ingredient as well as just a flavor enhancer. I don't know if you've ever tried this, but if you put some salt on a piece of watermelon, like sometimes you get bland watermelons, if you put some salt on there, it'll kick the sweetness level up significantly, make it taste way sweeter. Salt changes your taste receptors, makes them more open to pulling like a sugary sweet taste out of things. So, I mean, it is really a almost magical ingredient. When we went up to, I took a cured meat class up in Iowa State a couple of years ago, and the professor said the two magic ingredients are salt and nitrates. It's like it does some things that we honestly don't totally understand why it does those things, but we know that it has these effects. So salt is really important in cured sausage. What it's going to do is it's going to help solubilize the proteins in the lean portions of the meat. So it lets us get that protein extracted, and once we get that extracted, we can start forming bonds between proteins. If you've ever had a sausage and you've smoked it, whether it be a snack stick, anything like that, and you realize it's kind of dry, it doesn't have a ton of flavor, look on the floor. If you're hanging them, look on the floor of your smoker. You oftentimes will have huge puddles of just nasty fat, grease, whatever you want to call it, or sometimes it'll be a greasy coating in between your meat and your casing. What's happening there is as we're cooking proteins, as we're smoking a sausage, right, we're going low and slow, pretty much the perfect way to melt or render that fat. Well, as we cook proteins, they tighten up. If you want, I guess, evidence of that, think about like a steak. Press on it when it's totally raw, and then cook it and press on it. The old, I don't even know what it is. It's use your thumb pad to tell a steak's doneness, like this is raw, this is rare, this is medium rare, and this is well done, because it changes the firmness of your padding. I've never used that. I just use an internal temp thermometer because they're inexpensive and a lot easier. But as it's doing that, as it's tightening up, it's pushing out, it's expelling its water. It's also going to push out that fat, that liquid, anything liquid, it's going to push out as it squeezes. Think about like squeezing a rag in some ways, I guess. If we don't have really good bonds between our protein, that fat's just going to get pushed right out of the meat. It's then going to either get trapped between your meat and your casing, or it's going to drip all the way down onto the floor. Getting a really good protein extraction, a bond, it's going to help keep that fat in there. We made a kielbasa, a long time ago now, like 2 or 3 years ago. And we wanted to see what would happen if we just separated our lean and fat 100%. Ground our fat once through a 3/8 plate, and wanted to see if we could get it where we would prevent that fat from melting and rendering out of the sausage. It 100% rendered because we had some pockets of it right up against the casing. The fat particle just happened to be there, and we could see that it had melted. But when you cut into that sausage, you still have beautiful particle definition in the center of it. That's because we bound those proteins so tightly that it encapsulated it. It let the fat melt, but it kept it there. It didn't allow it to push out of the meat. So not getting good protein extraction leads to what we call fatting out. And fatting out is the process of that meat getting pushed out to the side. This is especially true if you hang them. Sorry. Some fat caught between a casing and meat is unappealing, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. It might not bite the best, like it might not have a great snap, but you're still going to get the fat in that flavor, or you're like the flavor and the coating of your mouth with that fat. So it's still there. If you're hanging them, it'll drip down most of the time. So if you're laying them down, still important, but not as vital. If you're hanging them, got to do it. Got to get good protein extraction. All right, so here's a list, and you can't use this as a 100% way to do it, but here are some of the things I've done taking a sausage and taking a bratwurst and making a cured sausage out of it, what my experiences were, what ratios I used. The first thing I'll say is anytime you're taking a bratwurst seasoning and making a cured sausage out of it, whether that be a summer sausage, snack stick, blah, 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 use a binder. And for any experimentation, anything like that, I 100% recommend using Sure-Gel. It is $1 or $2 more expensive than some of the other ones, but it absolutely is worth it. The only way I would say don't do that is if you have an allergy to any type of whey. John, is there anything in the chat that I should respond to? Have you looked at it at all?
Yeah, there's a few.
Okay.
Had a funny joke. Fat is flavor.
Fat is flavor.
By Claude Tremblay, and Nick Hall said yes. That's why I'm tasty.
Yeah, Nick is usually worth at least a couple of laughs.
And then we had Earl Fry up, a few more up, asking how does he sign up for the giveaway.
So Earl, if you're on waltonsinc.com/live, that's where you would go to enter the giveaway. It should be over on the right-hand side of the page. There's a drawing. There should be 4 or 5 options to be able to enter there. If you don't see that and you're on a cell phone or a tablet, look for like the more button, the 3 dots, and then click View as Desktop. It should then show up probably underneath the video is usually how it does it, but sometimes it'll still be on the side, but most likely it'll be underneath. So that's it. Just sign up for our newsletter, 1 free entry, refer a friend, visit page, or subscribe to the podcast. My feed just froze. Anyone else? Oh. Matt Westerhouse says about 5 minutes ago. Okay. I'm going to just jump into the YouTube stream. Although that wouldn't even do it anymore. So we do a couple of different things. We still use YouTube. It's a really good way to let a bunch of subscribers know that we're going live. But if you're at waltonsinc.com/live, the video you should be seeing is actually from Rumble, and the chat is from YouTube. Eventually, everything will be through this service called Restream. It's going to grab our YouTube, because we still stream to Facebook, just because why not? It'll grab everything and put them in one place. So we'll be able to see all the chats. Everybody see the same video, the same everything at waltonsinc.com/live. So that is something that we're working on. Okay, so Anthony, if you're on YouTube, to enter the giveaway, just shoot on over to waltonsinc.com/live, because not 100% sure on what we're giving away yet, but we've got a decent amount of entries so far. So if that keeps going up, I might make it the bigger of the 2 prizes. But if not, I mean, it's still a bunch of cool little things that I'm planning on giving away. All right, back to sausages. All right, so the first one is something that we just did. Again, we've done this in the past, but kind of made it pop into my mind that this might be useful information for everybody, is the Supreme Pizza. And when you're doing this, you really need to split it into 2 categories. Either adding the hard log pepperoni or not. Now, if you're adding the hard log pepperoni, either way, use Sure-Gel. But when I use this, I use about 22 pounds of pork. That's 70-30-ish in that range. And then 2.5 pounds of log pepperoni that I grind up. So that's just, I go to the store, I buy that, they're about this thick, yay long. They have a casing on them, so make sure to remove that. I did not once, and you could tell. Then you cut it up, grind it through your 1/8 plate. It's hard enough that it can go right through that 1/8 plate. You don't need to break it down first. And then mix it in there as you're mixing all the rest of your ingredients. The reason that we're not really making any adjustment, we're doing 25 pounds to a 25-pound batch there, is because that pepperoni already is processed and has a high salt content by itself. So it is going to not accept any of the salt, and it's actually going to give some salt to the rest of the product. So while technically we're at 25 pounds, we're really not. We're really at 22-ish pounds with that. Then if you're not going to use the pepperoni, which I think is a foolish mistake. I mean, that really does take what is a good sausage bratwurst seasoning and puts it into the realm of really, really good. And then if you are doing on buns, take a little marinara sauce and top it with that. Excellent. We just did these with mozzarella cheese, but you can use, we've used all 4 cheeses together in it. We've used the ghost pepper. It's really, really good. So then the second one is another one that we just did. We do this one a lot because we really like the seasoning. Kind of wish it was designed for a cured sausage because it does make a wonderful snack stick, and that is the Hatch Green Chili. Now, for snack sticks, we use this at a rate of about 8, well, we've done both, 18 and 20 pounds, again at 70-30-ish, of pork, and both of those were excellent. You can definitely make it with 20 pounds. I think 18 might have been a little bit better. But the best thing we did with that was we took 18 pounds of goose and we formulated it so that 18 pounds contained 25% pork fat. So whatever that math is, 14 and 4, something like that. And used the full bag of seasoning. So we used 18 pounds to a 25-pound bag of seasoning, and it was absolutely excellent. Another one that we used to use all the time, and then, I mean, a lot more options have become available, is the Habanero Mango. And for that, we use 22 pounds to a 25-pound batch. And you want to make sure your fat is 30% in there. That seasoning has a lot of sugar. It's that, the habanero barbecue, and a few other are the few seasonings where their sugar is the number one ingredient. Anything where we're looking for like a real strong sweetness, sugar is usually going to be the number one ingredient instead of salt. A lot of the times when we're looking at how much do I have to adjust this, we're paying attention to where salt falls in the ingredient list. If it's number 1, we probably have to make less of an adjustment. If it's number 2, probably have to make a little bit more. If it's further down, then you just got to do some testing. So I'll give a general rule of thumb at the end of this, but you can't necessarily hold it true for everything. Then the jambalaya. So if you're going to do the insane instructions that come on the bag, which is like use X number pounds of ham, X number pounds of chicken or shrimp with 2 pounds of 1 pound of rice that's cooked in 2 pounds of chicken stock, and then something in pork. If you're going to do that, then I would recommend you take everything down by 5%. Part of the reason we're saying just 5% there is because you're adding in ham. Ham's a really salty product by itself already. Hold on, sorry. Potential spam. Oh, my best friend. They call so often to see how I'm doing. If you're going to do it with just pork, I'd consider dropping that one by 10%. That's because that seasoning, if you've never bought it before, it's really like a chunky seasoning. It has a lot of large particles in it. So salt, by volume at least, is not the number one ingredient on that. So generally when it's not the number 1 or number 2, then we want to start thinking about increasing the seasoning per pound of meat more dramatically. The Reuben, I really only bring this one up because I love a good Reuben. We used it at full strength. We added some sauerkraut to it, so that probably did help by adding at least like a salt flavor. Sauerkraut, it's like sour, but yeah, it's got definitely some salt to it. We used that at full strength, and it turned out just fine. The Inferno Hot, it's a bratwurst. This was part of Austin and I a couple of years ago. We're debating what was hotter, Gigawatt or Inferno. So we made snack sticks out of both of them, and Gigawatt absolutely hotter than Inferno. But we did, it was between 7 and 10%. I can't remember exactly. I honestly believe it was 7%. I don't know why that sticks in my mind. That's a super weird thing to remember from 4 years ago, but I'm pretty sure it was 7%. And then finally, the last one we're going to talk about in specificity is the salsa brat. So I've tried this 3 times. I've tried making a cured product out of salsa brat 3 times. The issue is that I try it with chicken because just in my mind, salsa brat goes best in a chicken. It's good as a pork, but I think as a bratwurst, it's better with chicken. I've tried 5, 10, and full strength. So using 25-pound seasoning to make 25 pounds of brats. Using the whole bag of seasoning to make 25 pounds of cured sausage. I've tried it at 5% reduction of meat and 10% reduction of meat. The 10% is definitely the best, but it's still, there's something missing there. It's not quite dead on, but it's definitely pretty good. All right. And I added cilantro to all of those because cilantro is amazing. So, rule of thumb. Even if salt is your number one ingredient in the bag of seasoning, I would still recommend reducing it by 2 to 3%. Reducing the amount of meat you're using per the whole bag of seasoning. So we want to be using less meat so that the seasoning is more impactful on that meat. If salt is not the number one ingredient, do 5% minimum, 5% less meat minimum. And if salt is somewhere third or lower, 10% to just absolute crapshoot. Like you're just going to have to test it out and see what works, what doesn't. A lot of the times you're going to be able to tell during the mixing process if you're on the right track or not. If you're mixing for a long time and you're just not getting that really good bind where you snag up a whole handful of the meat and pull it apart and it stretches, if it just breaks apart, or if you just jam your hand down in there and hold up a big glob of it and it falls right out of your hand, you don't have enough salt content. Those proteins aren't extracting. So you want to increase the amount of seasoning that you're putting into the mixture until you get those results. Obviously, not caveat there, but you have to do some mixing. You have to really get at it. Don't mix it for 2 minutes and be like, oh, it's not, the proteins aren't extracting. So that's that. I hope that was helpful. No, Matt Westerhouse, absolutely not. We're going to have to do some banning for sure. Ugh, Papa Sop. No, you're the one who came up with palate appeal, in my mind at least. I know you've said in the past that it's not you, but it's definitely you. Ryan, I've used just store-bought ham. I've used both the Boar's Head and our local Kroger brand. You're going to grind it anyways, so don't go spending, a huge amount of money on a beautiful whole ham. You're going to break it down and put it into a put it into a sausage. So just buy something you generally like the taste of, and that is not too expensive. Can you put the Supreme brat recipe on Meatgistics? Yeah, we can do that. In fact, we should probably just go ahead. Actually, we have that, I think. Give me a couple of seconds to look here, because we did a video on making the 4-cheese Supreme pizza brat, and Pretty sure we did a video on that. If we didn't, we did some, yeah, I don't see it. We did some social media stuff on it, and that is not enough for how good that final result was. What we did is we took ghost pepper, mozzarella, cheddar, and it must have been the hot pepper. And we actually melted them in the pan because that high temp cheese will melt if you get it hot enough. So we melted them all in a pan, stirred it all up, and then we laid out some parchment paper and we poured the melted cheese onto it. We then let that cool and we cut it back up into chunks. I mean, they were nowhere near square, but they were chunks again. And then mixed that into the sausage seasoning. The reason we did that was because we wanted every bite to get all the flavors of the cheese in it. And I really think, I mean, it was a lot of work, but I do honestly think it was worth it. That was one of my favorite brats I've ever made here. But we apparently don't have a full recipe on that, so we will absolutely go ahead and get something made for that. We'll move that to the top of the list because we certainly should. Add 1% garlic of some kind, powder fresh to the recipe when using beef. Matt, I don't know if you were listening to our podcast with Strix Meats, but that's what he was saying. If you're using beef fat instead of pork fat, if you add a small amount of either fresh or powder garlic, it'll really improve the palate appeal. Haven't had a chance to use it yet, but I would say that certainly sounds like it would make sense. When I've made the pizza sausage before, I just used regular pepperoni, pre-sliced and ground it in, no issues. Didn't use any sugar gel. Okay. So yeah, Anthony, I say it so often, it's almost become my new protein extraction, but pork fat is just going to be better than any other fat for a couple of reasons. It's super white, has very low taste. So it being super white, like it looks good in a sausage. Beef fat has a tendency to be yellow. Some of the other fats that are a little bit creamier are even more yellow. So the big one with pork fat, though, is it just has a creaminess that other fats, other than, I guess, duck fat, really can't match. It's a huge difference between beef fat and pork fat with creaminess. And that creaminess is important because it's going to really melt as you're eating it. It's going to help coat the insides of your mouth. That coating is going to help retain the flavors, let you experience the seasoning more intensely and for a longer period of time. ND Mike saying you did a video on it. At least remember you talking about how you melted the 4 cheeses together. Yeah, I'd be surprised if we did a video on it and not a Meatgistics write-up. Looking through 4 cheese pizza broth. All right, hold on. I've found it. Yep, there we go. All right, here is the link to something on Meatgistics, at least. I don't know how in-depth that is. Yeah, no, we go into it fairly well. So yeah, you can use that link to make those 4 cheese ones. You're wrong. Colonel Sanders chicken only belongs fried, not in a sausage. That's for pork. I mean, I can see that for sure. I posted a link to, oh, he'd already posted a link to it. All right, cool. All right, so a couple other things now to the experiment portion of it. Maybe not experiment, but the demonstration portion of it. All right, first, some of you will remember that for many live streams, I spent a good amount of time trying to get this ceramic knife from Jacquard back to sharp. I just sawed some wood with it, tried to get it as dull as possible. We've tried everything pretty much but the True Home. We've tried all sorts of steels. I've tried files. I tried that 6-inch diamond sharpening steel. I spent about 3 or 4 minutes on the Norton on this. We're going to try slicing this. Then we're going to try putting it on the True Hone, see what that does with it. This is ceramic blade. This is not designed for ceramics, so it might not be great for the blade, but we're going to see what it does. So first, show you what the knife is currently at, because it is way better than it was the last time. Maybe it's not. Yeah. Boy, why does it cut better sometimes than others? All right, so there you go. Like, it's got some sharpness back to it. Before, it was basically just breaking the page. All right, so I'm going to plug in the True Hone. And for those of you who know how I feel about the True Hone, you can probably imagine I'm hearing Angel's song right now, just very euphoric. Quick run through the True Hone. It's got 3 different settings for a regular knife. You're going to set your speed to a 7 out of 10 and put it on the first setting, which is sharpening. Then you're going to leave the speed and you're going to move it down to the second setting, which is to strengthen the edge. Then the last one you're going to set to, and all of these move the stones away from each other. And we're going to slow down, and that's honing. So we're going to give it a shot. Oh, you can smell that. Ceramic smells bad when you're sharpening it. That's not a pleasant smell at all. All right. This will be the last thing I ever try with this. So if this doesn't sharpen it, this is going in the garbage. I mean, that is way better. So probably a couple more passes on the True Hone, and this would be back to razor sharpness, perfect sharpness. So I spent, like I said, 3 or 4 minutes on the Norton IM200, and I could not get it to that sharp. You saw how it was doing on the piece of paper. So True Hone wins that one, though this wasn't necessarily a competition. Now, for the competition. I've got 2 Walton's knives here that I have somewhat intentionally beat up. Like, just hit them on things, threw them around, tossed them at John as he was running away. So we've got, as you can see, it's got some sharpness, but it's definitely tearing the paper as well. That's the blue knife. Black knife, I can't even get it to do anything. So, not going to be quite fair, but this is going on the True Hone. This is going to go on the Norton IM200. Compare them, see which one works better. And then as soon as we're done that, hopefully Austin will be here. If not, we'll decide what we're doing for the giveaway and draw either a winner or some winners. So first, let me move my laptop out of the way and get my IM200 in here. Okay, so I'm going to go to the coarse stone first. What we're looking for on a boning knife like this is we want probably somewhere around a 12-ish degree angle. So how we're going to do that is we're going to dress. Well, you can do it 2 ways. You can use this little guide that they give you where you just hold it down here and it shows you what the correct angle is. Or we can be like the majority of people I know and just don't read instructions and do things. So if we put it straight on, that's a 90-degree angle. We half that, that's 45. We half that, that's 22, and we a little bit half that again. And then we're just going to pull it. And as we pull, we're going to move the blade back so that all of the blade is coming into contact with the stone. Sorry, this is hard to do and see around the microphone. And you can obviously hear that. I've got the bottom of this base filled with sharpening stone oil. You can use water. It even says it in the instructions, which I read. But why use water when you can use oil? So as you saw, this was pretty dull, so I'm just going to give it quite a few passes here as we're going through. And as I'm doing this, we can also talk about what we want the giveaway to be. So either one person can win something nice and big, or I cleaned out our utensils drawer, and I've got a ton of these Waltons and a couple other brand knives that I will sharpen up and send out to a few winners. So talk amongst yourselves what you would like more, either one big winner or a bunch of medium winners. Oh, and Austin is here. You're going to have to wait, Austin. I know we're excited to talk about that story, but I'm right in the middle of something.
They keep wanting you to move your computer out of the way.
Fair point. Can you come grab that? We'll get to that in 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so that's that. It's got all the oil on it. You can come sit down. Oh, it's a little late for that now, isn't it? Is that mic on, John? If not, can we get it on?
It's on now.
Okay.
Cool.
This one was super dull. All right. True hone first. This couldn't cut through the paper, it was just breaking it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it did. It's got a rough spot. So it's rough right near the handle, but if you get past that and start right there,
Nice.
very sharp. Now, I didn't do a lot on this, maybe a minute, 2 minutes. Let's see how we go. Oh, that's so satisfying.
Darn.
That's so satisfying.
I was hoping for like a live fail.
No way. No, I've become beyond an expert at this. It is my meditation. It is my very favorite thing to do.
Do I need to have like a camera up back here with like a motion
that.
sensor? Like,
Don't do that.
Do you spend like
Don't-
6 out of the 8 hours in the day
Definitely
back here?
not.
Just
Definitely not.
every one of Walton's has really sharp knives now.
I just sharpened your father's knives, or he had some knives. I doubt they're his in there, and he wanted me to use this. I was like, oh, no. Like I will be using the Norton for it. But he gave me 2 serrated knives. Like I can sharpen them on this. I'm like, but it's going to eat the serration, and it's not going to sharpen that. Hasn't responded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably just busy.
My knife question isn't important enough to him to warrant a response.
He'll get there eventually.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Okay, so quick, let's look at the chat, see what people want to do for a giveaway. Bigger, better. One big winner, a bunch of little ones, multiple winners. I'm fine either way. One big winner, wedding night. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just glad to be included. Winner takes all.
I want to do
what Matt Westerhouse says. I Google True Home. Draw hits floor when I see the price on one. Yeah, they're expensive, man. They're really expensive, but it did a great job. So either way, no matter what we give away, I'm gonna sharpen this up the rest of the way. And this, I've got this nice little covering for it, and somebody will win this. I'm done with it. I've beaten it. I took it from razor sharp to dull as hell, and then back to razor sharp. I've won. I'm like my dog when it's destroyed a toy. No longer need it. So either way, someone's going to win that. What do you think? Do you think a bunch of these knives, or?
I think we should do like 100 winners because I want to see you deal with the aftermath of that.
Back there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
no, let's just do like
do
one
that,
or two then.
Yeah, that falls on me.
All right, we'll do one big winner, and then a knife or two. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All
I
right,
don't know.
we will
I don't
get
know
to
what we're doing, but sure. Is it for this next month?
No,
or
that's
just for like now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Right.
I'm
You don't
not-
care. I'm pointing at what I'm saying.
Oh, they don't know what you're.
They
giving
don't know
away.
what that is.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a decent sized thing. I don't know if anyone's going to know exactly what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to give away the one big thing, and then we'll just give away maybe these things that I demoed. Not this thing, though, unfortunately.
No,
That's
no.
too expensive. All right, so let's talk about the big story that you and I were talking about earlier today. From Farm Policy News, Illinois EDU, chicken prices soar as Tyson projects higher meat costs ahead and two rivals combine. So there's a couple of things going on here. One, Tyson is saying that they're going to go ahead and immediately increase the cost on wholesale chicken. So selling to restaurants, other processors, that price is going up right away. It was $1.75 less than a year ago. It's now $3 a pound for chicken wings.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, but on the other hand, I mean, kind of expected.
Yeah.
I think we've seen a lot of prices increase, and we're just going to see more and more. But you look at what's happened to the meat industry over the past year in dealing with COVID and like labor shortages and whatnot. It's getting difficult. They're having to change a lot of what they're doing, change how their shift structures are. Labor costs are definitely going up. I don't know how much some of those meat processors have gotten back to normal, or if there even will be a true back to normal. So, I mean, it's just anytime you have changes happen, prices are going to go up.
So I remember one of the podcasts we did while everything was still kind of getting figured out with how they were going to run meat plants with COVID, shift work. They had to have everyone further apart, so they started like, hey, you guys come in from these hours, then we never ran a third shift before, now we're running a third shift. So that was one way that they could kind of make up for those restrictions. But that's a short-term answer. That's not a long-term, like, you're going to run 24 hours for the rest of your life. That's not a meat processor. It's not generally a meat processor thing to do. You have to close down overnight. The cleaning crew comes in.
Yeah.
So where does that cleaning crew come? Now what could you push it? Once every 6 shifts, there's a clean, and you have to shut everything down? And then things aren't as clean?
I don't know for sure, and I'm sure some of that's regulated.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know how much they can push or change this or that versus what they just have to do because that's what the USDA says.
It's got to be some, because that's what they were doing to respond to the increased demands for space.
Yeah.
So, but by September 5th, they're raising the prices on retail as well. My recommendation, and I'm not saying go clean out your local cooler, but I would go buy some extra chicken. I know I'm going to have some extra frozen chicken breast and chicken wings in my freezer for sure. Another good thing, pheasant is a really good replacement for chicken. In Kansas, you can bag 4 pheasant a day during pheasant season, obviously.
All year long.
And you can have 16 pheasants in like transport with you. That's the limit. So what would they do if you had like 5 people in a car and you had 20 pheasant?
I'm sure that would be fine.
Yeah?
I think I don't know for sure. I'm going to guess here, but the transport would still be per person because
you're
if you go
weekend.
out hunting, over a weekend, you're multiple days, you're going to have more than 4 in your possession.
Yeah, right. But that's
So
a guess, so still look up your local.
I'm fairly sure
Definitely
on
don't
that, but
say-
not certain.
The 2 morons from Meatgistics said it was fine.
They said you can hunt all year long.
Now, here's the one that I really wanted to get your opinion on. Cargill and a company called Continental Grain have joined forces in a joint venture to buy something called Sanderson Farm, who processed 4.8 billion pounds of meat last year. That's billion. That's with a B. Now, here's something interesting. Another article came out today that one of those 2 companies is once again having to pay a settlement for price fixing.
Yeah. That's what happens when you have an industry that's dominated by four major players.
Oh.
Which I
is
know
it 81% of the country's meat?
I thought it was like 78, but
Okay,
78,
right in there.
81,
Yeah.
it's whatever.
Sure.
Somewhere around the 80% mark.
Yep.
Which is just nuts. But anytime you get to that level, you're going to have some issues. I don't know. I know that they talked about the DOJ in here and what they may or may not do.
Yep.
But I look at it, and what came to my mind was like wireless industry, because I like tech and whatnot. So
Okay.
you had Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. You had 4 major players. You had some regional guys here and there, but to be honest, they don't do a whole lot.
Right.
So it's 4. They let 2 of them merge. Like, strangely, like I don't know at what point, like they say, no, we're going to,
Not you,
it's
yeah.
going to become monopolistic and we're not going to let it go. But they let it in the wireless industry happen from 4 to 3 major players. They kind of made a concession by saying, oh, Dish Network is going to be,
Yeah. Not really.
I am a fan of Dish and I hope they do well, but
They're not on the same level.
it's not going to be the same level. It's
like the
gonna take
Canadian
so
Football
long.
League versus the NFL.
Yeah, they could become a major player, but it's going to be so long. So in the meat industry, if we start seeing like mergers, people buying out this and that, here's a joint venture between 2 big players. I have a feeling they're going to let it go through, but on one hand, I sometimes wonder like when do you allow it, when do you not? Because I don't like government regulation, but as regulated as the meat industry is, you almost have to keep regulating to keep things fair, or else it becomes unfair. But the regulation's unfair already, and how it all works, it's just kind of a mess. I don't like how it all.
Well, look
Goes
at like
down.
who was the first monopoly? Standard Oil, right? Rockefeller. And they went in, they broke up Standard Oil, but in the end, all that did was make him even richer. He just then owned a bunch of smaller companies.
Yeah.
But I do think
yeah.
something has to be done there. Like we have to come up with something, because the fact that 4 companies are controlling 80% or thereabout of the meat industry in the United States is just insane. And honestly, a really good thing to look at and realize that you're responsible for your own food supply. Like you need to have backup plans. You need to have at least a couple of weeks to months of frozen meat in your house just for if this hits. There was somebody in, I want to say it was Texas. Brisket was so expensive that his like famous brisket, he just put up a sign saying, I'm not selling brisket right now because the price I would have to charge to make it worth it would mean none of you would buy it, so I'm just not bringing it in at all. Now, it's come down a little bit since then, but that type of stuff can and will happen.
Yeah.
I just posted a link to chat. It was a cool tool I found. It is the U.S. inflation calculator for the food inflation. Look at the rates from 2007 to 2008. It was like 3.9. And then at the end of 2007, obviously the housing crisis, the bubble, all that, and it just went nuts for quite some time. Obviously, I'm not an economist, but there look to be some similarities there. In the U.S., food banks were serving 55% more people than before the pandemic, which runs a nationwide network of food banks. It said 45 million people experienced food insecurity last year. I read that, and I immediately got very grateful for my life, for just like my life in general, the fact that I'm employed, the fact that my wife's employed, the fact that I've gotten to peek behind the curtain just a little bit. I mean, I don't at least have, neither do you, we don't have total like industry access, but we get to see some stuff coming down the line. You're like,
Look out.
yeah, prepare. Like, I'm not some crazy prepper, you know, not the preppers are crazy. Right. I didn't
Good
mean
catch.
it like that. Yeah, I didn't mean it like that. But I'm not, you know, I don't have a cabin in Idaho filled with arms and food as far as you know. If I had a cabin in Idaho, I'd be gone. No one would ever see me again. But just some simple things you can do to make sure that you're prepared. Vacuum sealer, vacuum bags, water supply, food supply for you and your loved ones for, say, minimum of a month. I mean, I think that I have more than that, and it gives me a really nice sense of peace. Like, if things go truly sideways, which I don't think they are, and I don't think things are going to go Mad Max, but if they do, I'm going to be okay.
It might be fun, though.
No, don't say that. It would not be fun. These idiots who say, oh, I can't wait for like The Walking Dead or something. You have no idea what you're talking about. Turn off the air conditioning for 24 hours and I'm going to be going nuts.
Yeah, it's stuff like that's just fun to think about. That's why, like, kind of. I mean, that's, I think,
get
why
what
The
you're
Walking Dead was such a big
Right.
hit, because people like to think about, man, what would I do if this happened?
Everybody
But-
thinks they're the guy with the crossbow. Instead, they're the person hiding under their bed getting eaten.
Yeah.
And then, all right, last thing, and then we'll draw inflation rate for some food items. Bacon, 15.6. I don't understand why we're allowing that. We should be
I kind of feel like that's
getting pitchforks and torches and...
I feel like that was more expected, though, because I feel like bacon prices have been kind of low. You can, like, at least cheap bacon. Cheap bacon
That's
has
fair.
been very cheap.
It really, really cheap.
Now, there's been some bacon that's like, I go to the store and there's like multiple different types of bacon. One is like 3 times the price of the other. And I'm
Yes.
like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that. So there's some stuff out there that I'm just like, no, it's expensive, not doing. But just the cheaper to middle of the road bacon has been fairly cheap.
But seeing a regular size package of bacon for $13 was a bit of a, like that. It's usually not that expensive.
Yeah.
Milk is 11% up, eggs 5% up, hot dogs 4.8, and porks, roast steaks, and ribs 4.4. I don't believe that last one even the littlest bit. It is way more than that, like way more, to the point where for a while there, I would 2 to 3 nights a week I'd have a ribeye, like that. I'd kind of plan that out. I don't do that anymore because, you know, I look at the price and I'm like, I can't really justify that.
Do you know what the last price is you paid for ribeye?
I don't.
We just bought almost $10,000 worth of steaks, and
Oh, for Walton's. I thought you meant you and Jenny. And I was like, "What are you? Why are you buying $10,000?"
No.
I get it now.
yeah,
I get it now.
for our steak comp.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Saturday, and the best price we could get, even off of buying that many steaks at once, was like $9.80 a pound.
On buying that many,
Yeah,
who'd you buy it from? Do you want to say or no?
no,
Okay. All right. I am going to be giving away something we talked about on. I'm going to pick this up, but it's not this. Just to be clear, I'm picking this up. It is not this. Ooh. Ooh. All right, so this was brought up on a previous live stream. This is a 20-something pound prototype of a sausage stuffer that a company sent us, trying to get us to carry it. It was their prototype of an electric sausage stuffer. We're not going to include the motor because it didn't do what we wanted it to do. It didn't perform. However, that company is very receptive to making changes, and we have made really good progress on electric sausage stuffer that we'll be able to do snack sticks. So we hope to have that probably not the end of this year, probably beginning of next year.
If it was a normal world, we'd have it before the year's out. But
Yeah,
the way things are right now, by the time you order something, it takes 6 months minimum to get anything. So
yeah. But this is an early prototype. I believe they said it's like 25 pounds. I never max tried it, but it does have 2 speeds. It's got the regular cranking speed. It has high speed for reverse. I've got 4 stuffing tubes over there, small enough to do snack sticks, big enough to do summer sausage or meat bags.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I would just say that, like, even though this is a prototype, like, we're not going to include the motor because it didn't do what we needed to on the electric side. But as far as hand stuffing, it's as
great.
good or better as everything else.
No, this is still the one where we made them change the outlet. I think this still has the old
does that
outlet.
have the old
But it
outlet?
still works fine for sausage.
Okay,
Still
yeah.
works fine for sausage. Son of a...
What'd you do? Redraw.
I'm
I take
partially
that back.
serious. We shouldn't.
No, I'm all in because I look over and there's purple on the screen,
Yes.
and if there's purple, I'm in.
Tex, I know you have a sausage stuffer. Do you want to redraw or do you want to come claim your prize? Oh, he probably will be here this weekend.
Oh, cool.
He wasn't going to be. Looking at chat, let's see if Tex wants to redraw. Tex says, I guessed it. I should win. You did win, Tex. So, let's see here. Actually, I don't know that he has a sausage stuffer, now that I say that.
I don't know. We figured out if he wants it, great. If he doesn't want it, we'll somehow swap something around and give it away later.
Yeah, I don't know why I was upset that because he's won before so many times. This is at least the 4th time he's won something.
Really?
I think so.
I was gonna say I don't really remember him ever winning.
Yeah, he's won at least twice before. I exaggerate a lot, so like twice becomes 4.
It's that forgetfulness.
Yes, that we've talked about many times. I will claim. All right, so Tex, congratulations. Come this weekend, we will get it for you. I'm going to draw a winner for the Jacquard. I guess it doesn't really have a name. Ceramic blade. Wouldn't that be funny if that shattered? As I did it? I will run it through the True Hone a few more times, get it absolutely razor sharp. He says it's only a 2nd win. I don't believe that. I think he's won more times.
I don't think he has.
Jacquard ceramic blade winner is...
Oh, that's hilarious.
Tex, you won again, but I'm redrawing. I'm invalidating it. We have the right to do that at any time. I'm repicking. If it's you again, I'm just going to walk out of here. Well, obviously. Okay. Tom
Dang it.
Rubino.
Would've
Tom
been-
Rubino, you won the Jacquard ceramic whatever knife.
If it would have been Tex
Santoku.
again, I would have made you walk out of here, and I just would have finished up for you. I'd have held you to your statement there.
And then I've got a blue and a black Walton's boning knife. I will just draw one winner for both of those so that we don't have to pay shipping on 2 things.
Which, by the way,
Being economical.
we've had a hard time keeping those in stock, and that is going to change.
Oh, really?
Yeah, making some new progress on some new cutlery stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Rumor has it that we're going to get an orange handle too.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I think.
Remember those-
Can't hold me to that.
We
but I
got some
think
orange ones from Victorinox, like that one special time. Were they Victorinox? They were some commercial brand, and we were giving them away to commercial customers. Oh. It was like 6 years
I
ago.
think it might have been a Cosini or something. I don't think it was
Maybe it wasn't that,
Victorinox.
but I remember it was like a commercial
Yeah.
style. Tom Noeck. Tom, you won 2 sharpening knives, 2 boning knives that I will run through the True Hone. I'll get everything razor sharp, get it all shipped out. Tex, we'll talk after this. Obviously, hopefully you're going to be here this weekend. If not, I have something else for you to pick up eventually. When you pick that up, you can pick this up. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for joining us for the end.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.